시트라의 마이데이터 정책에 대하여라는 주제로 준비해 주셨습니다. 이번에는 사전 녹화된 영상으로 만나보실 텐데요. 시트라는 핀란드 의회에서 임명한 감독위원회와 또 다양한 분야의 자문단으로 이루어진 재단이죠. 국가 전략과 미래 전망의 핵심 싱크탱크와 투자 회사의 기능을 모두 수행하고 있습니다. 자, 송출 준비됐나요? 네, 보도록 하겠습니다. 만나보겠습니다.
Hello, my dear friends in Seoul. It's wonderful to be presenting today, and I am Veera Heinonen from Finland's innovation fund Sitra, and I'm the director for democracy and participation. And we are also pondering the big questions of data, policy, regulation, and basic citizens' rights to their data and agency on their data. So wonderful to be with you today. Thank you very much. So it is really wonderful to have the opportunity to present at the Maidata Conference 2023. In my presentation, I will reflect the relationship between data, law, policy, and the democratic system. This picture really reflects our modern day Gutenberg moment, i.e. The innovation of the printing press in our day. Just as in the 13th and 14th centuries, once again, the advances or rather the leaps in technology are driving fundamental changes in the way we communicate, the way information flows in different networks, the way we perceive the world around us, and the way power is distributed in our society. So in this presentation, I will be focusing on the new possibilities we have within our reach. My argument is that we still have a long way to go in harnessing the tremendous opportunities of modern day technologies, digitalization, and data for the improvement of society, its services, the individual, and not least in reforming and defending our democracies. So the big picture, the megatrends 2023, Finland's innovation fund Sitra is a future-oriented fund, and one of our flagship operations is Foresight. These are our latest megatrends that we published earlier this year. And they describe the overall picture of change through 5 themes, as you can see: nature, people, power, technology, and the economy. The center of it all is the ecological sustainability crisis and the erosion of nature's carrying capacity. The climate is heating, biodiversity is declining at an alarming rate, and natural resources are being overused and waste is increasing. At the same time, we are witnessing the battle for democracy is intensifying as we are challenged both from within and outside, and our societies at large are being put to the test as the crises accumulate. At the same time, there are global disputes and tensions of the direction of our technological development, the accumulation of data or digital power, and how it affects our societies and citizens, our children, and what are the best means of protecting ourselves, and not least the fair market environment. So therefore, we need to really be discussing regulation. Also, cracks are showing in the foundations of our global economy as inequalities grow and the ecological sustainability crisis unfolds, intensifying the need to reform the economic system. So none of these changes happen in isolation. And rather than focusing on individual trends, we should look at the big picture of change and the linkages between these trends. One example you might find interesting is the intersection of two simultaneous global developments, such as the competition for digital domination or power, at the same time as the battle for different societal systems is intensifying, meaning the authoritarian system versus the democratic system. So my main point being that these are not separate developments, but they go hand in hand. In order to be able to renew and defend democracy and the data economy, we need a data and digital economy that's fair, transparent, and recognizes the citizens' rights for their own data. So if we look at the second picture for mega trends, which is really, the future possibilities that they present. So if the first picture was a little bit bleak and pessimistic, we could also look at really the tremendous opportunity that we can have with these changes. We are in a period of transformation where the established infrastructure is under strain and disruption and needs renewal. For instance, if we think about the information environment, the traditional journalistic media is challenged by social media. And this has a direct impact on our representative democracies. Our foresight specialists often remind us that there's no going back to the old normal, but the future is not predetermined. We can and we must influence it. And we must have a vision what kind of future we are striving for. So we believe that digital power can be democratized and we can build a fairer digital world with a fair marketplace where citizens' data rights are recognized as basic human rights, and the use of data can therefore create prosperity and also competitiveness and help develop societies, because we need trust in this new data economy, such as we have had trust in the old economic model, which has been based on monetary exchange. But before we jump into the solutions, we need to define more clearly what we mean by digital power. So if we look at this picture with the big question, what is digital power? Sitra is, in our thinking, Sitra is aiming to combine the perspectives of the future data economy and the democratic system by creating more understanding and visibility of the phenomena we have coined as digital power. So in our definition, digital power is something that is deeply embedded in the fabric of modern society and is concentrated in the democratic market economies in the hands of big tech or data giants. In the authoritarian system, it is concentrated in the hands of the authoritarian governments. So forms of data-driven digital power include the ability to influence individuals, communities, technological development, and the ability to predict the future. The bigger the player, the more data it has, the more scope for influence and power it has. So to sum it up, digital power is the ability to connect the dots between different types of data points and between different data layers. It is about knowing how people, ideas, locations, and so forth behave, and how they're connected in different information spaces, and then being able to decide or anticipate what will happen next. And this is all happening in a completely non-transparent way. So we have no visibility as individuals what is happening in this black box. So in my next visual, I just want you to ponder why understanding the forms and dimensions of digital power is so crucial from the government's, lawmakers, and also the individual's perspective. Why this is crucial from our democratic system's perspective. One of the reasons is that the modern day manipulation of individuals through this digital power or data power is $1 billion or euro business, so big that we don't have the capacity to understand what kind of power record-breaking market values and turnovers create. We are in completely unseen territory when it comes to this case. This is an arms race for our hearts and minds, and it's only accelerating. So this is really where the tension lies. Open, liberal, democratic societies have relied on the informed democratic citizens who has the capacity to decide autonomously who will deserve our vote, for instance, who is best to represent our interests, our values, and our ideals. But this is not the case anymore, as we are in a splintered reality. We're not in a shared news or information environment. Therefore, we are challenging the basic idea of our societies that have been built on the ideal of free speech, free entrepreneurship, and free media. And this all is being challenged in the current global information environment, but we haven't really recognized this current environment yet. And this reflects on the geopolitical environment as well. Whether it's at home or in the international stage, authoritarians particularly are on a campaign, on a global campaign to divide the open internet into a patchwork of repressive enclaves. And this is a quote from the latest Freedom House report 2023. So if social media has become a battleground for controlling human attention, this is something we're perhaps slowly becoming to, we're recognizing this slowly, but what really poses the big question is, with the new generation of artificial intelligence, the battleground is shifting from our attention to intimacy, as the historian Yuval Noah Harari argues. So what will happen to human society and human psychology as the artificial intelligence fights another artificial intelligence in a battle to convince us to vote for particular politicians, or convinces us to buy particular products? This is really the big question. So if you look at the next visual, where I'm pondering how understanding the workings of data economy and AI must be seen as a civic right that societies and institutions should actively protect. Harari and others argue that we can still regulate the new AI tools, but we must act quickly. The European Union's AI Act will be the world's first comprehensive AI law. The aim is to agree to reach agreement by the end of this year. And as part of its digital strategy, the EU wants to regulate artificial intelligence to ensure better conditions for the development and use of this innovative technology. We realize that AI can create tremendous benefits, such as better healthcare, safer and cleaner transport, for instance, more efficient manufacturing, competitiveness, cheaper and more sustainable energy. These are wonderful opportunities, and we must embrace them as modern-day societies. But at the same time, the European Parliament wants to make sure that the AI systems used in the EU are safe, transparent, traceable, non-discriminatory, and environmentally friendly. And particularly, they want to make sure that our children are protected. So AI systems, they argue, should be overseen by people rather than by automation to prevent harmful outcomes. So data regulation and governance should respect epistemic rights. And in this case, I mean by epistemic, recognize the knowledge rights and the degree how knowledge is validated. So in this visual, we believe that we should look at our regulation through these 4 pillars. We should have equal access to relevant and truthful information as citizens. We should also have an equal capacity to critically assess the impact of AI systems at the individual and also societal level. Participation is crucial. The impacts of AI on society, individual rights, and democracy are subject to public deliberation. It should be so. We should also be participants when we are deliberating this regulation and how we are being serviced by artificial intelligence in the future, for instance, by the government. And then last but not least, no manipulation. All people have equal freedom to form their views without being manipulated or pressured into a particular position. So this is hugely important. So coming to my last visual and some also my conclusions, we strongly believe at Sitra, our organization, and this reflects perhaps also the European Union's position and Finland's position, that a fair and transparent data economy will also be the more prosperous and more sustainable one. And why we think so? Well, first of all, we argue that the use of data creates well-being and competitiveness and helps to develop societies. But we also need it to be fair in order to create and trust, which is really one key element of modern day societies. And the modern data economy needs to be compatible with the interest of private citizens, private businesses, and the open society at large. So the key question I would like all of us to ponder is, how can we harness the power of technology, the power of data, the power of artificial intelligence to reform democracy, to modernize democracy? We can no longer look at democracy and digitalization as separate fields of expertise and administration, but as a phenomenon that is intertwined and which should be discussed in the same tables and in the same conferences and in the same global summits. The world's biggest platform companies have shown how much power technology and data can have on how we interact with each other, how information circulates in our society, how we express our feelings on issues, for example. But so far, by far, the most lucrative and impactful business of using data, for example, has been capturing our attention, advertising, and targeting it in various forms, as exemplified by the billion-dollar results and superior market positions of the world's biggest and largest platform giants. So social media, or the internet in general, has not naturally proved to be the democratic force it was thought to be. And at the same time, the technology and the development of societies and democracy has lagged behind. So we are putting a lot of faith in solid regulation and policy, such as the European Union's AI Act and the Data Act. And we would love to see it pave the way for global thinking, as it has done with the GDPR, for building the solid base for ethical services, and which take into account privacy and transparency. Because we only think that the future of competitive business also lies in building it on an ethical and solid base, as we have seen with the green transition. So leadership will not be, global leadership will not be achieved without investment. And what is needed now is for policymakers to have the courage to rethink their power, to make room for experimentation, have imagination that this is not, the current state of things is not the only way to go ahead with the global data economy. The only two models cannot be the authoritarian government-led version or the oligopolistic or monopolistic US-led version, which leaves very little room for innovation and competition anymore. So as the lifeblood of democracy is shrinking globally, securing the conditions for democracy and the resources for renewal should be seen more clearly as an investment in the future, which in the best case could also give back economically in the form of new growth in companies, innovations, and stable, equitable, and thriving investment in attractive societies. So thank you very much.